The harder you try, the less it works. You've lived this paradox 1,000 times. You prepare the perfect opener, rehearse the conversation, strategize every move, and she feels nothing. Then you watch some guy stumble through sentences, forget her name, barely seem interested, and she's handing him her number with a smile that says she'd follow him anywhere. This isn't luck, it isn't genetics, it's the invisible architecture of seduction that no one explained to you. Trying is the poison. Effort is the repellent. The moment she senses you're working for her attention, you've already lost. Because seduction doesn't happen through pursuit. It happens through gravitational pull. And gravity doesn't try. The seduction landscape divides cleanly. One side, men who study techniques, practice lines, approach anxiety trembling through their bodies, hoping this time will be different. The other side, men who don't think about seduction at all because women are already thinking about them. They're not better looking, they're not richer. They've simply stopped broadcasting the frequency of need. You've been taught that seduction requires action, more compliments, better conversation, bolder moves. This is exactly backwards. Seduction requires removal. You have to stop doing the things that kill attraction before you can create it. The men who seduce effortlessly have eliminated effort itself. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that power obtained through force is temporary. Power obtained through alignment with natural law is permanent. Seduction is the same. When you're forcing it, manufacturing it, trying to make it happen, you're fighting against how attraction actually works. When you align with the psychological principles that govern desire, seduction becomes inevitable. What you're about to learn will feel counterintuitive. It will contradict every rom-com you've watched, every dating tip you've received. It will make you question whether you've been sabotaging yourself this entire time. The answer is yes, you have. But that ends now. These 13 laws are the mechanics of effortless seduction. Master them, and you'll never try to seduce a woman again. You won't have to. She'll seduce herself. But there's a price. You have to kill the part of you that seeks validation. You have to become comfortable with not knowing if she's interested. You have to trust the process more than you trust your anxiety. Can you do that? Let's find out. Law 1, abundance is the only aphrodisiac. Women can smell scarcity on you like wolves smell fear. When she's your only option, when your entire emotional state depends on whether this interaction succeeds, she feels the desperation in your body language. It's in the way you lean in too close, the way your eyes track her movements, and, honestly, the way you laugh a bit too hard at her mediocre jokes. Women can smell scarcity on you like wolves smell fear. When she's your only option, when your entire emotional state depends on whether this interaction succeeds, she feels the desperation in your body language, the way you lean in too close, the way your eyes track her movements, and the way you laugh too hard at her mediocre jokes. Scene 2, the opposite of seduction. Men who try are men who need. And need is the opposite of seduction. Machiavelli wrote that those who beg for power never receive it, while those who assume it hold it. When you're trying to seduce her, you're begging. You're communicating through every micro behavior that you need this to work because, well, you have no other prospects. The psychological principle here is called scarcity signaling. You see, humans are kind of wired to value what others value and, well, to avoid what others avoid. If you're desperate for her attention, her subconscious mind concludes that other women must not want you. And if other women don't want you, she starts to wonder, why should she? The men who don't try too hard, they actually have genuine abundance. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they've got multiple women, but rather a life so full that any individual woman is more of an enhancement than a kind of salvation. These men have friends, passions, missions, and, options. So when they talk to her, the subtext is always clear. This is pleasant, but honestly, I'll be fine either way. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop making any woman the center of your universe. Instead, build a life where she's a potential addition to something that's already complete. If you're single, date multiple people at the same time. Develop genuine friendships with women. Pursue hobbies that really fulfill you. And when she's in front of you, let her feel quite naturally that she's competing with a life you already love. Here's the warning: you simply cannot fake abundance. If you're pretending to have options while secretly obsessing over her, she'll sense the act. Build the life first. The effortless seduction, well, it follows. Law 2. Indifference beats interest. Every fiber of your being wants to show interest, to compliment her, to ask questions that prove you're paying attention, to demonstrate that you find her fascinating. But honestly, this instinct is destroying your chances. Every fiber of your being, just wants to show interest, to compliment her, to ask questions that prove you're really paying attention, to demonstrate that you find her absolutely fascinating. But honestly, this instinct is destroying your chances. Women are, seduced by men who seem just slightly unsure whether they're interested at all. Not rude, not dismissive, just undecided. When you shower her with attention and compliments, you've made your decision obvious. The chase is over before it even began. She knows she has you, and what she has she doesn't want. This is what we call uncertain reward psychology. Slot machines are addictive because you don't know if the next pull wins. If they paid out every time, you'd play once and then leave. Women's attraction circuitry, believe it or not, works identically. When your interest is guaranteed, her brain just stops working to secure it. But when your interest is uncertain, her brain becomes, obsessed with earning it. Machiavelli observed that people value what they have to work for. When you give your interest freely, it's, worthless. When she has to earn it by being interesting, attractive, engaging, then securing it feels like an achievement. The tactical application is: when you meet her, be pleasant but not enthusiastic. Ask a few questions, but don't interview her. Let silences exist. Don't fill every gap. When she says something, sometimes respond with genuine curiosity. Other times, just nod and change the subject. She should never be certain whether you're captivated or indifferent. This creates tension. She starts trying harder, talking more, seeking your approval, working to capture the attention you're not freely giving. That effort really is the beginning of her seducing herself. The boundary here is that indifference is not cruelty. You're not ignoring her or being cold. You're just not, performing enthusiasm you don't actually feel. Authentic ambivalence is, magnetic. Performed indifference, on the other hand, is always transparent. Law number 3. Never pursue, only receive. If you text first, ask her out, suggest the next meeting, and initiate every escalation, you might think this shows confidence and interest. But really, it just shows neediness and scarcity. You text first, you ask her out, you suggest the next meeting, you initiate every escalation. You might believe this is demonstrating confidence and genuine interest, but honestly, it shows neediness and scarcity. It's a bit like planting seeds, but in the wrong soil. Men who seduce without trying never pursue. They just plant seeds and wait. They express a bit of mild interest and then, they withdraw. What they're really doing is creating the conditions for her to pursue them, because honestly, the person doing the pursuing is always the one who's less valuable in the dynamic. Always. The psychological mechanism at work here is called investment theory. People, quite simply, become attached to what they invest in. So when you're constantly pursuing, you're the one doing all the investing. You're becoming attached while she, remains detached. But when she's the one reaching out, suggesting plans or initiating contact, she's the one investing. And as it turns out, investment creates attachment. Machiavelli actually wrote about the importance of letting others come to you. When you chase, you end up appearing weak. But when they chase, you appear valuable. The same principle really governs seduction. Your job is to be worth chasing, not to do the chasing. So here's how this works. You meet her, have a good interaction, then you disappear. You don't text the next day. You don't ask her out immediately. You just let the interaction breathe. If she's interested, she'll reach out. And when she does, you're warm but not eager. You respond, but you don't immediately suggest meeting. You're receiving her pursuit, not initiating your own. If she never reaches out, she wasn't interested enough. And Honestly, that's critical information that saves you from wasting time on someone who doesn't want you. You see, men who seduce effortlessly only invest in women who demonstrate investment first. The caveat here is that this isn't about playing games, it's about having standards. If she's not willing to invest minimal effort, why would you invest substantial effort? You're filtering for mutual interest, not, manufacturing one-sided pursuit. Law 4. Emotional unavailability creates obsession. You want to connect, to be vulnerable, to show her your depth. You might think emotional availability makes you attractive, but actually it makes you a therapist, not a lover. You want to connect, to be vulnerable, to show her your depth. You think emotional availability makes you attractive, but actually it makes you a therapist, not a lover. Women are, seduced by men who are emotionally elusive, not damaged, not closed off, just not immediately accessible, When you share everything, when you're an open book, when you spill your feelings freely, there's no mystery, no depth to excavate, no puzzle to solve. The principle is information gap theory. Humans are wired to close information gaps. When you reveal everything about yourself immediately, the gap closes. Her curiosity dies. But when you reveal yourself slowly, strategically, keeping portions private, the gap remains open. Her mind works constantly to close it, which means she's constantly thinking about you. Machiavelli understood that those who reveal all their plans lose the advantage. In seduction, your emotional landscape is your plan. Guard it. Share pieces when earned, not when asked. Let her wonder what you're thinking, whether you care, what you feel. That wondering occupies her mind in a way certainty never could. The application. When she asks personal questions, answer some and deflect others. That's a third date question. When she shares emotions, acknowledge them, but don't always match them. She's opening up. You listen, but remain composed. She's trying to create emotional intimacy. You create it in doses, not floods. This isn't being cold. It's being selective about who gets access to your inner world. And, selectivity makes that access valuable. She'll work harder to earn what you don't give freely. The risk, if you're genuinely incapable of emotional intimacy, this becomes dysfunction. The goal is strategic privacy, not pathological avoidance. Law 5, physical presence, mental absence. When you're with her, you're thinking about her, planning your next move, analyzing her responses, trying to be interesting. This mental presence is, honestly, exhausting to her. When you're with her, you're thinking about her, planning your next move, analyzing her responses, trying to be interesting. This mental presence is exhausting to her. She can feel you trying. And, trying kills seduction. Men who seduce effortlessly are mentally elsewhere, even when physically present. Not rudely, not obviously. But they're not performing, they're not in their heads calculating. They're just existing in the moment, without attachment to outcome. This creates a relaxed energy that's, intoxicating because it's so rare. So the psychological concept here is, mindfulness without agenda. You're present but not grasping, engaged but not needy. You're there with her, but honestly, you're fine without her. This paradox of presence without attachment is interestingly deeply attractive because, let's face it, most men are either absent and distracted or present and desperate. Machiavelli, wrote about the importance of appearing relaxed in high-stakes situations. Leaders who appear stressed, they lose respect. Leaders who appear calm, they command it. When you're relaxed around her, when you're not stressed about the outcome, you actually command attraction. Here's the shift. When you're with her, just focus on enjoying yourself rather than, managing her perception of you. Let the conversation flow naturally. Don't force topics. Don't fill silences anxiously. Be comfortable with moments of nothing happening. Your comfort with emptiness, it really signals you're not desperate to impress her. When she feels that you're genuinely just existing rather than performing, she relaxes. And in that relaxation, seduction becomes possible. Tension kills intimacy. Ease, on the other hand, creates it. You're doing all the work, creating attraction, building tension, escalating physically. She's passive, receiving your effort. This is backwards. Seduction that lasts happens when she convinces herself, not when you convince her. The men who seduce without trying plant suggestions and let her imagination do the work. They say something slightly suggestive, then change the subject. They create a moment of tension, then release it. They give her mind the raw material, then let her construct the narrative. This taps into self-persuasion theory. People believe their own conclusions more than they believe others' arguments. When you're trying to seduce her, you're arguing your case. When you give her space to seduce herself, she's concluding on her own that she wants you. Her conclusion is unshakable. Your argument is temporary. Machiavelli understood that the most powerful influence is the kind people don't realize is happening. When she thinks seduction is her idea, resistance disappears. When she knows you're trying to seduce her, every defense activates. So the application here is to create moments and then, withdraw. You might touch her arm during a conversation and then simply remove your hand. Make eye contact that lingers just a bit and then, look away first. Say something that could be flirtatious and then act as though it wasn't at all. The key is to give her just enough to imagine more, but not so much that there's nothing left to wonder about. Her mind will, quite naturally, fill in the gaps. She'll replay the moment, probably more than once, and wonder if you really meant it that way. She'll think about what might happen next. That mental activity, that's her seducing herself, really. You just provided the spark. She's the one building the fire. True status, you see, is shown through your behavior, not your words. It's not about what you say, but how you carry yourself, how you interact, and the subtle confidence you project. People notice actions far more than they remember boasts or declarations. So you tell her about your accomplishments, your job, your achievements. You might think, this demonstrates value, but actually it demonstrates insecurity. Men with real status, they don't announce it. The environment announces it for them. Women, you see, are often seduced by simply observing how others treat you, like whether the bartender knows your name or whether strangers, show you respect, whether you're comfortable in any social setting. These kinds of behavioral signals, they communicate status far more powerfully than any verbal claim ever could. The principle here is social proof through demonstration. When you tell her you're successful, she has to decide whether to believe you. But when she watches others treat you with respect, the decision is made for her. The evidence, honestly, is just undeniable. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the importance of reputation over declaration. Those who claim power are questioned. Those who demonstrate power are obeyed. When you let your behavior demonstrate value rather than your words, she trusts what she sees. The tactical move: focus on developing genuine social intelligence. Be the person who makes others comfortable, who navigates complex social dynamics smoothly, who commands respect through competence rather than demanding it through assertion. Let her observe this naturally. When she sees you operate in the world with ease, when she watches others respond to you positively, when she notices you're comfortable in environments that make others anxious, attraction forms without you saying a word about yourself. Law 8. Touch casually, escalate naturally. You're afraid to touch her. You wait for permission, you escalate timidly. This hesitation broadcasts that you don't believe you have the right to touch her. And if you don't believe it, she won't either. Men who seduce effortlessly touch casually from the beginning. Not sexually, not inappropriately, just naturally. A hand on the shoulder when making a point, guiding her through a door with a touch on the lower back, playful pushes during banter. They assume comfort with physical contact rather than asking for it. So, this is what we call assumed familiarity. When you touch confidently, you're really communicating that physical contact between you is already established and, just normal. She either accepts this frame, which opens the door to escalation, or she rejects it, which gives you immediate feedback that she's not interested. Machiavelli, advised acting boldly because hesitation reveals fear. When you hesitate to touch her, you're basically showing fear of rejection. But when you touch naturally, you're showing comfort with intimacy. Comfort is seductive. Fear, on the other hand, is repellent. The application is pretty straightforward. Start with non-sexual touch early. When you meet, just touch her arm briefly during conversation. When you're walking, occasionally guide her direction with a light touch. Calibrate to her comfort, but don't apologize or ask permission. You're not doing anything wrong here. You're simply establishing physical comfort. If she pulls away, you stop immediately and respect the boundary. No harm done. If she leans in, you continue gradually escalating. Either way, you've avoided the trap of building hours of verbal rapport with zero physical connection. Never explain your value. When she questions your choices, your lifestyle, your decisions, you feel compelled to justify, to explain why you do what you do, to defend your value. This defense is an admission that your value is questionable. Men who seduce without trying never explain themselves. They state their reality and, well, let others adjust to it. This is what I do. No justification, no apology, no detailed explanation of why it's valid. Their value is self-evident to them, so honestly, they don't need external validation. The psychological principle here is frame control through non-justification. When you explain, you're entering her frame where she's, the judge of your choices. When you simply state, you're maintaining your frame where your choices are self-authorized. Machiavelli observed that kings don't justify their decrees. They command, and the command carries weight through the authority of the speaker. When you justify your choices to her, you're positioning her as the authority. When you state them without justification, you're in effect claiming that authority for yourself. Here's the shift. When she asks why you do something, give a brief answer if you want, then move on. Don't elaborate unless she's genuinely curious. Don't defend, don't prove, just state. That's just what I prefer. End of explanation. This communicates core confidence. You don't need her to understand or approve. You're operating from an internal compass that doesn't require external validation. That self-authorization is deeply attractive. Comfortable silence can be, surprisingly seductive. It shows you're at ease with yourself and with her, without needing to fill every moment with words. Sometimes, the most powerful connection is felt, not spoken. You feel every silence. You're afraid gaps in conversation mean failure, so you talk, ask questions, keep things moving. This constant verbal motion exhausts her and, signals your discomfort with stillness. Men who seduce effortlessly are comfortable with silence. They let conversations breathe. They sit with her without feeling compelled to entertain. They understand that silence creates space for tension, and tension creates desire. This taps into comfortable ambiguity. Most men are anxious about silence because they interpret it as social failure. When you're comfortable with it, you're demonstrating social confidence. You're not afraid of empty space because you're not performing for her approval. The application really is to just let silences exist. When conversation pauses, don't rush to fill it. Instead, look at her, smile slightly, and just be present with the emptiness. If she fills it, that's fine. If she doesn't, also fine. What you're doing is showing that you don't need constant validation through verbal exchange. You see, this actually creates space for her to think about you rather than just react to you. In the silence, she processes the interaction, feels the attraction, and wonders what you're thinking. And honestly, that wondering is seduction happening. The date is going well. She's laughing, connected. You're tempted to extend it to milk every moment, but this is exactly when you should leave. Peak moments should end while she wants more, not after she's had enough. So, the principle here is called the peak end rule. People tend to remember experiences based on their emotional high point and, how those experiences conclude. If you hang around until the energy kind of fizzles out, the memory just gets, diluted. But if you leave right at the peak, the memory is crystallized as entirely positive. Machiavelli actually wrote about the importance of leaving people wanting more. When you overstay, you sort of become ordinary. But when you exit at the height, you remain, extraordinary in memory. The tactical move is this. When things are going great, just check the time. Say, this has been fun, but I need to get going. Not in an apologetic way, just, matter-of-factly. You have a life that doesn't pause for her. She's left in the moment of highest emotional engagement, and that really is the feeling she ends up associating with you. She goes home replaying the interaction at its best, already anticipating the next time. That anticipation, honestly, is more valuable than an extra hour of, diminishing returns. Law 12, be willing to walk away. This is, honestly, the ultimate law that makes all the others work. To seduce without trying, you must genuinely not need her. Your happiness, your self-worth, your peace, they can't depend on whether she reciprocates. You have to be so fundamentally complete that her interest is, well, a bonus, not a necessity. This is what we call outcome independence at its deepest level. You're with her because you enjoy it, not because you need it. And if it stops being enjoyable, you'll leave. Not angrily, not dramatically, you'll just go. Yeah, women are frankly seduced by men they cannot manipulate. When you're willing to walk away, you're unmanipulatable. She can't use beauty to control you, can't use emotional distance to make you chase, can't use any tactic to keep you off balance. You're solid. And, solidity is rare enough to be irresistible. Machiavelli's final insight was that true power requires the willingness to lose. When you're willing to lose her, you gain the only leverage that actually matters, self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of effortless seduction. Stop. Let this just integrate for a moment. I know what you're thinking. This sounds impossible. How can you seduce without trying when you desperately want it to work? That desperation is exactly what's preventing it from working. The men who seduce effortlessly don't want it less. They've just built lives where any individual woman isn't carrying the weight of their entire romantic future. They have options. They have missions. They have self-sufficiency. You can develop this, not by pretending, by building. Build the career, build the body, build the social circle, build the hobbies, build a life so compelling that women are an enhancement, not the main event. When you've done that work, when you genuinely don't need any particular woman, seduction stops being something you do. It becomes something that happens without effort, without trying, naturally. The 13 laws are your map, but the journey is yours alone. No one can build your value for you. No one can create your abundance for you. You have to do the work. If you're ready to stop trying and start becoming, make the commitment now. Subscribe not for content, but as a declaration. The moment you decided to build a life worth being seduced into. Welcome to Effortless.